Braylee Harris, first grade Bryce James, second grade Daisy Ambris Ramirez, third grade Jaden Daniels, third grade the Autism Resource Room, Gisela Costa, fourth grade Giovanni Ambris Ramirez, fifth grade Brianna Ponce. Wilson Elementary Staff of the Month, we had Miss Tiffany Mason, fifth grade math teacher, and Miss Larissa Lashur, the Autism Resource paraprofessional there. All right, and then next, I would like to invite up to talk about Family Math Night at Harrison, Miss Francesca Jimenez to talk about some of the generals.
Good evening, board and families and guests. I am so thrilled to be here tonight to introduce some of our fifth grade students from Harrison Elementary School. This is truly where the magic happens. You see what you have in front of you is just genius. They are brilliant, brilliant kids, and they inspire us as staff every day. Math night came about, and they're going to do a better job of sharing than I will. But it came about as an idea in a classroom that started with asking what the word volunteer meant. And it formed into something really, really fantastic. It just proves to us as adults that our kids have genius inside, and they have all the answers. And so truly with their presentation, it doesn't do it justice to the magic that they created. The students designed, organized, created, and fully executed our Title I Math Night this year. And they did it better than I think any adults really could have. They were super organized. Ms. Zapata and I were talking the other night about really good teaching and what that magic looks like. And she used the term activator. So instead of really great teaching and student-centered learning being facilitated, it's activated. So it's been such a privilege to be able to serve our students and work alongside them and help to activate the genius that they are going to share. So I will go ahead and let each one introduce themselves, and then they will share a little bit about their fantastic event.
Could they pause for 1 second? We got a loud noise that's happening over here. I think they're going to try to turn it off. I want to make sure we give you all our undivided attention. So we're going to handle. Barry's the tallest, so he's in charge. All right, there we go. All right, now we can jump back into it.
All right, so without further ado, here are wonderful fifth grade students.
My name is Melia Lopez, and I'm Mr. Dr. Lewis's favorite student. My name is Kiara Strong, and I like to start club and help kids. My name is Daniel, and I like math. My name is Adrian, and I like math. My name is Jason, I like math. My name is Tavon, and I like reading. We started this math night by me reading a dictionary on what volunteer means, and we learned that volunteer is a noun and verb, and then the teachers that helped us and principals were Ms. Jimenez, Dr. Lewis at one meeting, and I forgot the other girl's name, but we don't need to worry about that. Yeah, Miss Zapata, and our art teacher helped us decorate with the cafeteria and gym.
Yeah.
And it was for us, for everybody to learn how to use math and learn that math can be fun and you can't just learn it in one way. There's a lot of different ways. Um, Math night. Fifth graders, we plan to get at least 125 guests or 150 guests. Uh, it was grade level math activities, snacks, free math games, uh, grade pump raffles, which was a hit and everybody liked. Families left with food bags and prizes. Um, so there were stations for each grade level, like depended, like for um, each grade level. And an example is kindergarten. They had like blocks, counting blocks with numbers, and after you completed one, you would get a prize. And if you were in a higher grade level, you would uh, it would make it a little bit harder for them. So we had a game called Fun Instructions. It was made by a head teacher. It was like a pizza game, and it had factions on the back, and you had to match them. And if you got one, then you have to get the you have to get a prize. Uh, third grade, they had math bingo where you would need to find place value to put a mark down where you could win different prizes like pencil things to store your pencils. And we had like a telling time game. We thought it was a we thought it was oh yeah, we thought it was fun for kids and like a time game to be like fun, like so I think it helped more kids to learn time and like challenge them to like time games and stuff. Yeah. We had a raffle at the end. Like I think it was like people when they walked in, you can like grab tickets, and then at the end we went all up in the cafeteria, and they had people like when you like they all the people that grabbed cards, they had cards, and then we had a bucket, and then we pull the cards out, and then you'll see the number on there, and then if they win the if they got the same number on the card, they can win like a prize, like a book bag, or like a book bag or something. behind that. Yeah, like what's like math supplies in there, like a ruler or like different stuff. We had a survey where we would see what people liked about the math night and what their favorite part was and what games they liked to see what we could do for the next math night or reading night.
And then in conclusion, we were so inspired by their work that we are continuing our exploration of enrichment, where we're learning and thinking outside of the box and engaging truly in the active areas of student learning into different areas that interest students and tie the academic and the standards together in really meaningful ways that allows students to collaborate and to problem solve and to apply those critical thinking skills and to have really great opportunities to shine and to show them that their hard work really pays off. We had about 150 people who put it better than any of us.
Do you guys have any questions?
So before we get to the questions, one, thank you students for being here, and parents, thank you for being here with them. I will say, I got an email, I think last Tuesday from Ms. Jimenez saying that some of the students wanted to meet with me to present an idea that they had and wanted my approval. And so I walked in and they were sitting around the conference table and it felt like I was being summoned by you guys, the board. I thought I was in trouble. And they had a whole presentation and they took turns and they said, we want to do a math night. Here's why we came up with it. And they're being a little bit shy now, but they weren't shy in that meeting. And it's easy sometimes in these situations to think, oh, well, the teacher planned it and they're just presenting it. No, these kids actually did the work. And they sold me on the idea. They wanted my approval. They said, we're going to get 300 parents to come. And I said, okay, good enough with that. And they even planned the snacks. So we got there and it was cookies and chips. Okay, the kids clearly planned this, right? There were no vegetables in terms of snacks. So they really, really planned it. All of the signs were clearly student handwriting, and they presented it. And I said, you have my approval, and if you guys do a good job, then you're gonna come and report to the board, my boss, how you guys came up with this event and why you did it. And as Ms. Jimenez said, we've had adults on our team who are paid to plan events to get parents to come that have not gotten 100+ parents to come. So these guys planned the events, they made the flyers in English and Spanish. The surveys were done in English and Spanish. I'm looking forward to seeing the survey results. And they got all these parents and kids to show up at math night, and they did a really, really good job. So I just wanted to just share that. And if you guys just have other ideas in the future, within reason, right? No crazy ideas. Always feel free to present them to me, and I will see if we can approve it so that you guys can continue to do great work. So congratulations to you guys on pulling off a great math night.
Great job. I would love to ask, pulling something like this off, doing something this great, had to be kind of difficult as coming together as a team. Can you tell me what it was like, and maybe two of you, tell me what it was like to work with your fellow students, come together as a team. Was it hard or was it easy? And then talk about that. You had your hand up. Go ahead. There we go.
So it was pretty fun working as a team and like having people work with us so we can like make it fun. And it was like a bunch of, it was like us, like a group, and we was like having fun and we was just having fun while like planning a math night. So it was pretty fun working with them.
That's great.
Okay,
so it was pretty easy coming out together as a team because we're all friends, and that's all I'm gonna say because we're just friends. So it's easy working as a team. It was very fun because I got to meet a lot of new people like y'all. I don't know y'all. So like it was pretty easy because we're friends, but it was like kind of struggle because we were kind of like get mad at each other if you like don't do anything right or do something wrong. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, overall, we did pretty good and glad to be here.
Yeah, I would, so this one's pretty exciting, guys. So I'm an accountant, is my job. So when I saw math night, this is pretty cool. So you guys are fifth grade, right? So if I do my math right, about 10 years or so from now, you're gonna be looking for internships. Come find me, okay? Stay in the community. We hope you guys stick around, keep learning math. Excellent job. Awesome. Thank you. Well, I don't want them to embarrass me.
So if you're not familiar, accountants, their job is to do math and to do high levels of math. So I'm the board chair. I'm also an engineer by education, so I have a math minor, so I also love math. And I know how scary some people think math is and how scary some people think presenting in front of a scary board like us is. And so I want to give you kudos for doing two things that are very, very hard, math and presenting in public, and you all did a fantastic job doing both. My question would be, thinking about the next math night you all want to do, what would be like a fun food you would want to do at your next math night that might be math related?
Say macaroni, but when I heard math food, I would probably say cut up brownies, but like in fractions.
Oh, well done. How do you know when?
I would say like cookies that like shapes and numbers. I don't know, but I think cut up cut up carrots and cut up carrots like in a plus sign.
That's a vegetable, that's a vegetable, right? I don't know, way, like I think, right? Well, so one, I personally want to offer to sponsor the food at your next math night at Harrison. So you all plan a night, whether that's pizza or something. My favorite math food is pizza. My kids hated that I would have to do math with them and like, is this a quarter of the pizza or an eighth of the pizza and how much are you getting?
You guys might want to request, move it up to steak.
Right? But I'd love to help offer and support that for your guys' next math night, so you guys can plan another really, really fun event. Congratulations on this. So you got your hand up. I can see why you're the favorite.
So I was thinking, I forgot what I was thinking. My bad.
No, you're good because we do want to call all of you up, and we've got certificates for all of you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to read names. I'm going to do my best to pronounce these right. We're going to ask y'all to come up here and grab a certificate, and then we're going to take a picture together. All right, so y'all are going to come up here. I'm going to give you a certificate and just kind of hang out here in the little half circle or whatever shape that this would be, and then we'll take a photo. All right. So first up is Jace DeBerry. Dr. Lewis will do the certificates and handshakes, and then I will read names. Next up is Kawan Dickens.
He's not here, but I remember what I was going to say. We're not going to have a math night, we're going to have a reading night.
Okay, so next one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Danielle Guetta. Faith Hernandez Mijares. Noelia Lopez. Is it Tavon Patton? Tavon, all right. Say it again. Savon Patton.
I will know he had a full three-piece suit on, like trying to compete with me. Like the whole tie and everything.
All right, I'm gonna do my best on this one. Tiara Pierce Stalling. By method of deduction, I'm gonna guess that you're Adrian Vargas. And then we also have certificates of appreciation for our staff who supported this group and were helpful. And so I'd like to present a certificate of appreciation to Kirkland Cox. And another certificate of appreciation to Carla Levy. Come on down. We'll be behind it. We'll stay back there.
Parents, take as many photos as you want.
Parents, feel free to come up, get a picture. Sí, pase para atrás, la foto si quieren. Tenemos el tiempo. We have time, take a picture.
Oh, no, you're doing it.
All right, thank you. Congratulations, Craig. All right, make sure you grab some food as you're sitting down. You didn't grab a snack yet, grab something. The rest of the meeting will be informative but less entertaining. My apologies. Yeah, and Harrison parents, if you came for the presentation portion, don't feel obligated to stay for the rest of the meeting. You're more than welcome. You have to stay. Padres, si están aquí solamente para esa parte del programa, no tienen que quedar para toda la noche, pero si quieren agarrar algo y pueden salir.
Smacking. Skip you, bro. No, it's mine.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just give a second here for folks to kind of transition, and we'll jump into our agenda here. I know next up on our agenda is talking about collective bargaining. So I think Rhonda will be up on deck for that. Oh yeah, you're more than welcome to sit in front if you'd like. So yeah, there'll be. I don't think there's an age limit on public comment, so we'll be okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll keep rolling. And so Rhonda, I will item under business services is ratifying the collective bargaining agreement. And so I think that's been made available if people would like to review. I wanted to share as we discussed the collective bargaining agreement that, this was a great collective project with the South Bend School Corporation. I know Kareem was online and it was a good collaborative process this year for us to align with the South Bend Community School Corporation and partnering with the teachers to make sure we're able to get this agreement done. And we've got two related motions, or we've got two motions that are related to the CBA on our agenda today. I didn't know, Kareem, if you wanted to make a comment related to that, or we can move into our motions related to these.
Regarding the collaboration with the zone and alignment, so it was a really good process. So thank you.
And in alignment with our new public comment policy, we're going to hold public comment prior to each of our votes on the two items that we have here related to the collective bargaining agreement, and also to including Coquillard and Navarre as parts of the our collective bargaining. And so I'll do the first one here. I would like to do a motion first, and then we'll do it before we vote, right? So, okay, make sure. So I will entertain a motion related to the collective bargaining agreement.
I'd make a motion that we approve the agreement as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, we'll move to public comment. And so the board will hold, and so I'm going to read this once during this meeting. Other times where we have public comment, I'll refer back to the original. And if anyone wanted to see this, they can. But so public comment, the board will hold public comment period before each vote and at the end of the meeting. It is requested that the public focus comments on the topic of the vote. It is requested that public comment on all other topics be made at the end of the meeting. Individuals must sign up either online by 12 p.m. on the meeting date or in person no later than 10 minutes after the call to order, which has passed. I know we had a sign-in sheet by the door. Individuals must make their comments in person at the board meeting. Individuals are invited to address the board for 3 minutes. Individuals may only speak once during a public comment period. Speakers shall properly identify themselves after they approach the podium by stating their name and address for the record. Personnel issues are not to be addressed during open sessions. The board president may interrupt, warn, or terminate a person's statement if the statement becomes personally directed, abusive, or obscene. So related to the motion, is there any public comment related to the motion to ratify the collective bargaining agreement? Seeing none, I will move that into a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And our online folks will need to be able to hear, we need to hear them say an aye, right?
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next on our agenda is a motion related to the resolution to amend the NEA South Bend bargaining unit to include Coquillard Elementary School and Navarre Middle School. I'll entertain a motion related to that.
So moved.
Motion to approve. Motion to approve. So the first, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan. Any discussion from the board before moving to public comment? Seeing none, we will move to public comment. I will not read the sheet again, but say it is now, as previously read, we are open for public comment related to this motion. Seeing none, I will call the question to move to a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition? Any abstentions? All right, seeing none, motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, next. And Rhonda, you're up to talk about finances.
Good evening. I'm pleased to present the zone finances this evening, and keeping with our math theme, I'd like to start off with the statement of activity for the zone 501c3. Here you'll find our revenue, which is primarily in the form of reimbursements from the district, and our expenses, our operating expenses for the 501c3, which you'll find payroll expenditures always usually the highest there, and our net revenue for the month. It appears it is negative, but that's just a timing difference as to when our reimbursements will be received. So no alarm there. Next, we have our statement of financial position. Here you'll find our assets, our liabilities, which are primarily related to health insurance and some bills that need to be paid. Next, you'll find our 501c3 budget to actuals. This is just our zone budget, which you can see the total budget on the bottom line for the zone operating fund is just a little over $1 million. And you can see on that bottom line that we've spent about 36% of that at this portion of the year, as we're nearing almost half of the year. So we appear to be in good shape here. Yes, some items are a little bit over budget, but overall, that was to be expected. We are still overall in balance on our budget to actuals, or under budget, I should say. Okay. No questions, comments, we'll move on. And finally, here we have all funds updates. These are the funds that are managed by SBCSC. The majority of our budget is 32 million, give or take, is housed with SBCSC, and we requisition the district to make certain purchases for the zone. So you can see our estimated balance for each of these funds. And overall, at the bottom, it appears we spent down about 42% of our budget, which is still in good shape for this time of the year as we approach the halfway mark. One quick call out is we have just started to bring in money from the pre-K program. So you can see a new fund item here, pre-K vouchers. Those have started to come in to support our pre-K program, which we've supported fully for the last 2 years without revenue.
The other one was that I think just a note, I know that we've been increasing some of our fundraising and grant writing. I saw on Facebook where we got the big grant announcements. I think that's exciting to see additional revenue and program funding coming in for programs as well, which is great.
Absolutely. We have a great student services team and a dedicated member who seeks donations from the community and helps us put on various events throughout the year. So, yes, very appreciative to have those funds come in as well. That concludes the financial piece.
So it's recommended that the board of directors approve the October finance report. So I'll entertain a motion related to that.
Make a motion to approve the financial reports for October.
Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second? Thank you, Rosan. Any discussion, additional questions? Seeing none, I will move to the public portion. I'm not going to read the public comment policy again, but ask if there's any public comment related to our finance report. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. And then last for business services is the October personnel report.
Yes, thank you. We have an HR report update for you on the slide. As you'll see, quarter two reorganization, which was prompted by decrease in ADM for one, which would be student enrollment, and the introduction of our IWU teacher apprentice program, improving role fits, and Harrison's size and needs. So there was a reorganization that took place, and I'm just going to speak about that from the staffing point of view. And if you would jump on down to the bottom of that slide, this is the net effect of those staffing changes. About 24 staff members were affected by these changes. Most moved into new roles. Everyone was offered a role, not everyone accepted their new role, so we had some departures during this reorg. And as a result of this reorg, we eliminated vacancies and positions, not staff members, but 13 vacancy eliminations, which is a net savings for the zone of approximately $650,000 due to this reorg. But also in keeping with, hey, we know our enrollment is down as well. So we're being responsive and we're being fiduciaries and responsible fiduciaries of public funds. And that's the headline for this report. Next, just, yeah.
Any questions related to that report? Thank you.
Next is just a brief overview of the October hires for the zone. As you'll see, there are 10, and then departures, 6.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So then next, we'll be moving into our focus reports, and first on the focus reports list is nurturing zone teachers. For IW program.
evening. All right, so thank you for having me. I'd like to share like some really exciting updates to our IWU Step Up program. And I do have some guests here that are going to be sharing as well. But I really like to highlight how this exciting initiative is impacting our school communities, and also share a couple of other things that are happening in talent development. So we'll start by sharing some background information about the program. This initiative was born to address a global need for dedicated teachers, our experiences with teaching vacancies, and a need for staffing restructuring. Another thing that makes this program unique, in addition to doing it with a well-respected university like IWU, we are removing barriers to entry given the requirement to enter the program. Some of these individuals might not have otherwise been able to complete a bachelor's degree, much less earn the proper teaching credentials. It wasn't for this program. So we're able to fill these vacancies at no additional cost. And it could have cost us more to hire a brand new teacher, kind of off the street, and who had no prior relationship with our school and our students. So as it stands, we have 0 teaching vacancies in our buildings. Yeah, that's the headline. But also in return, we get a 2-year commitment with our apprentice teachers. So, and our principals have already given some glowing reviews, and you'll probably notice we have some of our apprentice teachers already been nominated for awards in their buildings for the exceptional work that they're doing. All right, here are the names of our amazing individuals who are part of our Step Up program. I couldn't get a picture of every single one of them, but I tried to include them in the slides so you can see their faces. But it's a testament to the dedication of our existing staff members who really wanted to step up and further impact the lives and the futures of our kids. And it's also worth noting that this group is diverse, representing a broad spectrum of experiences and backgrounds, and they all share the same strong commitment to our student success. So let's highlight the transformational power of the Step Up program. It shouldn't go unnoticed how supporting these individuals in earning their bachelor's degree can change the trajectory of their lives and earning potential. This commitment to professional growth not only transforms lives, but it also builds trust and loyalty, leading to better teacher retention. People stay when they feel cared about. More importantly, these benefits transfer to our children. Having a faculty that matches our diversity impacts their academic outcomes. So, I mean, I can get to a couple of statistics, but a 2018 study found that Black students who had a single Black teacher were 13% more likely to enroll in college. With 2 Black teachers, that number jumped to 32%. For Black boys, the impact is even more powerful. Having a Black teacher cut high school dropout rates by 39%. For Black boys from low-income families, the study found all of those things. But I also want to note that 8 of our 15 apprentice teachers are Black. So I was able to visit their classrooms, and I tried to capture some of the things that we got to see in their classrooms. And yeah, you can see Ms. Doakson's class, how she loves on her kids.
Mr. Avon's class is like a whole vibe, and he's teaching the kids Spanish. Just I tried to capture some of the great things that are happening already in their class, and they're working with kids that they care about, and kids that care about them. So let's hear from some of our candidates, and I want them to share what this program means to them, and more importantly, what it means to our kids. I had a couple of apprentice teachers that they had another engagement at the last minute, but they insisted that I share their testimony. So I have just two, and then I'll call the rest up. So this is from Mrs. Gail Kirkland. She said, through this program, I'm making my family proud of me, and I'm proud of myself too. It's never too late to set out to accomplish your goals. Miss Allie Stevens said, for me, this program signifies not only family stability, but also the chance to be a positive role model. A role model not only for the students I teach daily, but also for my two daughters. It is an opportunity to demonstrate that despite life struggles and delayed gratifications, hard work can empower us to achieve anything we set our minds to. Now, I'd like you to hear from a couple of our other apprentice teachers. I have, come on up. Big Doug. I saw Mr. Avon. Come on up. You can bring your baby too.
I wanted to first of all say thank you to the Empowerment Zone, to this opportunity that for me, it is a once in a lifetime opportunity because I never would have imagined, like they have said before, for me to really go back to school and do what I really love, which is teaching. So now I get to do that and teaching the Spanish. Well, I'm teaching Spanish at the college, and it has, even though it's been 30 less than a month, I feel like I've done maybe not a big impact, but it's some impact, and it's just really, I really don't know how to express it in words, but I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and especially because I know I'm making a difference in this community. Hi.
Hi, I'm Tierra. I worked at Coca-Cola, and last year my principal gave me the opportunity to in fifth grade from January to the end of the school year. So I taught fifth grade then, and then over the summer she had called and said that she didn't have a fifth grade teacher, and she asked me if I could do it again since she found one. And I was like, oh, of course I will. And she was like, okay, well, I told them I'm not going to find one, so they have to figure something out to keep you in their position. So I'm grateful for her for seeing something in me without having a degree. And I've been, in my mind, I've been teaching my whole life. Like since a kid, I have an extra bedroom with a classroom, and I always taught my cousins and everything like that. So this program to me is making my dreams come true, and it's giving me an opportunity to do what I love to do without the financial burden of getting to school or being in debt with student loans and things like that. So for that, I thank you guys for that opportunity. And it also gave me the opportunity to be an official teacher without finishing it. So I was nominated for Teacher of the Year. So, with that, I'm grateful for the Empowerment Zone for just trusting and believing that I could do this without having to actually.
Good evening to the board members, my twin, Dr. Lewis, and everyone. and everyone in attendance or watching, by a show of hands, how many have had a Black male teacher in your educational experience? As you can see, thank you. As you can see, it is a rarity to see a Black male teacher in the classroom. Statistically, roughly 1.3% of teachers are Black males. As for many years, and especially at the close of the pandemic, the need for teachers grew tremendously. 2001, as an educator in Indianapolis Public Schools, I wrote down the idea that if we could grow from within, we could diminish the epidemic of shortage. I wrote down a plan to use those staff members who were like me, needing it not only to further their educational experience, but also stay within the school system immediately. Staff could attend school and work. Their employment would help qualify as educational credits and pay for their schooling while fulfilling the need of shortage with mentoring and training. I wrote the plan down, but never submitted because I was unsure who and how it would work. As this new school year began and I transitioned back from Indianapolis to South Bend last school year, my principal, Samantha Smith, came to me and presented an opportunity to teach in a classroom and obtain my degree. She felt that although as school facts, my personal education was more important. That meant everything to me. It was an investment from my school leader. Ironically, I taught her son in pre-K. He's a senior now. I was still hesitant because I enjoy my position as facts and being liberal and not being set in the classroom all day. It wasn't until I came across the plans I had written in 2021. It was confirmation and everything I needed to make this decision. Since the return from fall break in October, I've been grateful to join the 1.3%, not just in teaching any classroom, but teaching Spanish, being a Black male teaching Spanish. I am a man of faith, and the good book says in Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. I am thankful to know that everything is off the plan.
Thank you all, and I've actually been in these individual classrooms, and I can definitely see their impact, and I'm just happy that they're able to benefit from this program. Do you all have any questions for them before I talk about this, what's coming up next in talent development?
Just a comment, of course. My heart is so warm. I'm so surprised, Ms. Melanie, you're so quiet about this whole thing in our earlier meeting. This really, truly excites me, especially to see one of my former students, Darlene Hughes, right there in the middle there. And it's just so exciting to see this apprentice teachers program, and the fact that you were talking about growing your own. I think that is really the key. And the fact that we won't have a quality program without quality educators. That's just the fact. So thank you so much for all your hard work.
I guess I would also like to say thank you as well. I mean, these are tough times for a lot of families, for a lot of students, and there's great need, as we already know, and you all are filling that gap. And just want to show that some of the most important people in my life were my teachers, that I remember many of the things that they taught. And they taught from passion because they cared. And what I hear from you all is that you care and you have passion for the work, passion for the kids. So I just want to say thank you.
Well done. Very well done.
Look forward to seeing some graduations here coming soon, so stay tuned. Congratulations.
I'll just quickly, first of all, thank you, Mrs. Hackett. So, when I offered her this role back in May or June, we didn't quite have an idea. I had just a usual crazy pie in the sky, hey, we have these needs, I think we need this, we need this, we need that, and I think you're the person to do it, and created a job description, and I said, these are the things I want you to get done, and she kind of said, sure, and she just kind of ran with it. While many other people don't necessarily like public criticism, I heard very loud and clear last year from folks, in particular on the district side, that they're concerned around the lack of certified teachers in the zone. And I welcome it. I welcome that feedback because you're giving me a challenge, and the best way to get me to do something is to tell me that I can't do it. So I said, we're gonna solve this problem, and we started working on solving that problem. And we have 0 vacancies right now in terms of teachers. And these are individuals who are already members of our community. And so I think as board members, you've all been in situations where you've had to hire people or manage people that's been hired, and you never quite know what you're getting. You have sometimes people that are great interviews and they turn out not to be great employees, and that's always the risk you run. But when you have people that have already been in the building, working as a paraprofessional or a family engagement specialist or as a rally room coordinator, or as a lunch aide, or whatever the case is. These are people that have been working in our schools for 10, 15 plus years, but they don't have the requisite degree and credentials to move into the classroom. You bring a program like that, you are taking somebody that's already a part of the community, that already has relationships with our kids, and giving them this additional opportunity to even have a bigger impact, as opposed to picking up somebody off the street that is an unknown factor. And so for me, this is a win-win, right? And in many ways, it's budget neutral, right? Because you already have these positions allotted, and you're taking that money, you're paying a portion of that to their salary, which is more than what they'd be making as a para or a fax, what have you, and then you're using the balance of that to pay the tuition and then pay for a mentor. So in some ways, it can be very self-sustaining. This is something I did in Atlanta with a different institution, with Relay University, and it worked well there too. And so this is a part of our efforts. We sent out a memo to all staff back in September saying everyone needs to be certified. Everyone needs to have the proper credentials, and we've been working really hard on that. So we've started with teachers. We're going to move to our administrators next, and Mrs. Hackett has been doing a wonderful job of identifying programs and opportunities. We're helping people with fees to pay for the licensing test. We're helping people with getting tutoring, because we have people that have taken the test 6 or 7 times, they failed it, and so they need some additional support. She's meeting with folks on an ongoing basis, providing mentorship, because one of the things you'll discover as well, you get a lot of people come in as new teachers, but they don't make it, because it's a very tough job. And so if you don't have that support system, if you don't have the mentorship to keep you going, and it's not just mentorship in terms of like, here's how you write a lesson plan, but here's how you get through in a social emotional wellness. How do you get through this job when you're working with families and kids of varied needs? You sometimes can take all of that on and take it home with you every single night. I know when I just started, I did, and I had to learn how to leave work at home and not be at home 11 o'clock at night thinking about this student that I know is homeless or whatever the case is. So that kind of mentorship, just helping you navigate all of the aspects of the profession, will be beneficial to their longevity and their retention. And so, we're not just putting people in programs and not giving them the supports to successfully get through the programs. And when you talk about how do we increase folks in the profession, you got to remove barriers. And those are financial barriers, right? As these guys talked about, some of them would not have been able to pay for a degree on their own. There's time. How do you go back to school while working a full-time job to support your family? And if you do it in the evenings, when do you ever finish, right? So they're in the classrooms now working, and they're getting from that work experience credit that's going towards their degree as well. And then support. A lot of people, you put them in programs, they don't get the support, they don't finish. So we've eliminated those barriers, the financial, the time opportunity, and the support barriers. And I'm looking forward to great things from these folks. And as a result of this work, a part of the zone being what the zone should do is to innovate to impact the wider system. And we're able to, part of the reason, one of the ways we can do this is through this apprentice teacher title that the district had to approve. So now there is a new job description and title in the district that's called teacher apprentice as a result of our work. And they've made it very clear that they're looking to see how we do with this pilot, to see if they can do it on their side. And it was so good to hear from the board members on the district side, including Mrs. McCullough, just sharing her appreciation of giving opportunities to paraprofessionals and support staff who often go unnoticed. Because most times these teacher apprentice programs are not thinking about support staff. And everyone that's in this program, I feel safe in saying they are currently a support staff member in our building. So thank you to you all for stepping up. We're looking forward to great work. I already know you guys are doing great things. Thank you to Mrs. Hackett for jumping off a cliff with me. And here I have an idea, jump, she jumps, and she's making something out of my craziness, which is often the case. So thank you all, and great job.
So before I just want to tell you this, there's a couple of other things that we're doing just coming up down the pipeline for talent development. Okay, so next up, we're going to introduce licensing enrichment is what I call it, encouraging staff members to earn additional credentials. We talked about people earning their administrator licenses and that kind of stuff, but that's the licensing enrichment if you want to add to your current license, and we want people to be multi-licensed. And lastly, we're kicking off stay interviews. This is an exciting step in our continued effort to improve teacher retention and employee satisfaction. So a stay interview is a structured discussion with an employee to learn the specific actions to strengthen an employee's likelihood of retention. Our very own Dr. Lewis presented on stay interviews and their impact at one of his convenings with the aspiring superintendents. Stay interviews differ from employee engagement satisfaction interviews and surveys and from exit interviews, as they focus more on being proactive to assess like flight risks and succession planning and just forward thinking. So I'm excited to get these going and building on our momentum from last year's stay interview impact by decreasing staff turnover by a whopping 16%. So we hope that we can increase that even more with this round. But that's all that I have. Thank you so much for your time and supporting these wonderful people. Supporting these wonderful people.
Yeah, I wanted to comment how excited I am that you're doing the stay interviews, because whatever industry, organization, business you're in, it is so much easier and less costly to retain people than find new people. Whether it's a person, whether a customer, whatever it is. It's a brilliant concept, and I'll be interested to see what we learn from it. So, great idea. I'm glad you're doing that.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll keep up the good work. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay, say 1, 2, 3, smile. Wait. Hold on, door straight. Pop us in your face.
He did. I had the water.
Yeah.
I had the water.
I saw the pictures. Came out some kind of.
They put it on Facebook.
I saw it.
Julia, can you send the photo of Mr. Board?
Yeah.
I can put it on screen.
Yeah, what?
Oh, I think it'd be fantastic to put it on screen.
Wait, I can tell who reads the newsletter because he's there.
No, we want a special prize here.
All right. Back on track here. Let's go to focus reports on academic assessments, tiered supports, and interventions.
Good evening.
Oh, good evening.
There's been a lot on the schedule today, and I would love to end our focus reports with some information and the alignment that we're excited about really focusing on this year. I think there's no doubt that there have been many strategies that have been tried, sometimes random, sometimes random, and sometimes intentional, but often disconnected. So we're seeing what sticks and don't necessarily have a system to actually look at the impact or the effectiveness. We have wanted to shift that with a really targeted focus on a structure that helps us align what we're doing to what the data is saying, and that the data is informing what we're doing next, so that we have a coherent and connected set of strategies and a systematic way in which we're looking to see, is that working? We want to make sure also that that is a connection or an alignment from the outcomes that we bring up and identify as, and we'll go into that, all the way into what the zone plans to do, what the school plans to do, and the actions that they take. We're gonna take a closer look at that. As you might recall, we defined the KPIs to assess different areas in the bigger domains of leadership, learning, and resources. And today, kind of just focusing on learning some of the KPIs related to Indiana State assessments, both in ELA as well as in math. And we'll take that as the beginning of our alignment. So if we can look at the next slide, you can see that the KPIs in the balanced scorecard, for example, I learned ELA data as a KPI and an indicator of what is happening in terms of effectiveness for student outcomes in our schools. Increasing the percentage of all tested students proficient is part of our scorecard. Those are the outcomes we want. We want to make sure that they are aligned, A, to the zone's plan for improvement, the goals and the strategies that are going to feed and actually impact that outcome, that indicator, as well as what the schools are doing and their improvement plan. For example, for the zone improvement plan, what we sometimes call the ZIP, we foster self-efficacy and academic excellence is one of the goals that we've presented a few months ago at our board meeting. Strategies that align to that in kind of the broadest way are offering support and guidance for academic achievement. That looks like supporting the use of data in the classrooms, curricular guidance, and support with implementation. From the school perspective, there is a very specific process to help get to academic goals and strategies that will align as well to that KPI of I learn, in this particular case, ELA percentage of students proficient. For the school improvement planning, the process starts in the summer where data is looked at in a structured and systematic way by schools, school-based leadership teams. And they are going through a specific process to land strategies that aren't random and aren't disconnected, but instead are related to why the problem is occurring or why we're not where we want to be. For example, data is reviewed, sets of data are reviewed to determine and really narrow down, pinning down what is the problem, so that we can actually start looking at why through root cause analysis, why that's happening. And then the school improvement plan is really laying out what we're going to do about it and how will we know that it's getting better, that problem is getting better. One way our teams have done this is through root cause analysis using structures such as a fishbone protocol. And this is one way where you can lay out different categories or areas, identify the problem, and start looking at what some of the issues or barriers might be in each of those categories, such as resources, instruction, curriculum, etc. Another way is the 5 whys structure or protocol. And here we've just laid out, I've laid out an example of what that could look like. There are a few key pieces to this, and one of them is that you're digging straight into a problem instead of brainstorming different reasons. So identifying the problem is key to the process. For example, 3rd through 5th grade student proficiency with standards that are at grade level for ELA, which we'd be able to assess through the percent of students that are proficient on iLearn. So the question is asked, why does that problem exist? And the process is to take that problem and ask why various times to get deeper and deeper, as opposed to focusing or taking the why out into too many different areas. So for example, students don't engage in lessons might be a hypothesis on the table for a team. We ask, why are students not engaged in lessons? Students aren't clear on what they're supposed to be learning. Why are they not clear on what they're supposed to be learning? Learning targets are not communicated, or maybe aren't communicated explicitly. Why is that happening? Until we get to maybe teachers do not have a deep enough understanding of the learning targets to take students there in their learning, for example. Why would that be happening? And here we just share a couple of different landing points where that why process, that 5 why process might take us. I think what's really key is the experience of going into the whys also is looking at the data that supports if we're on track, right? Do we have information that lets us know that teachers haven't been trained? Well, we can take a look and see, actually they haven't been trained in unpacking standards. Maybe that's what we need to do here at our school. Or we have accountability structures, but we haven't necessarily been using them in a way that helps the teacher teams work on unpacking what the students need to know and be able to do. So this process is something that is built in to the school improvement planning process so that we're landing on not only goals, but actions and strategies that are tied to the root cause of the problem as opposed to addressing the problem maybe above the root. Once we have the school improvement, when the schools have the school improvement plan, we're taking a look now at data, and this is just an example, but it is our BOI, beginning of year data. We will have MOY data coming in from iReady next month in both reading and math. But here's an example of our beginning of year data and the percent of students that were 2 or more grade levels below. It's this information that helps schools and school teams take a look at who needs more than what they're getting in core instruction. And that's part of this broader system of multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS for academics. In this MTSS framework, we want to make sure that the data is informing what students' data, such as the BOI data, what students need and how much they need, how intense are their needs. So for example, within MTSS for academics, lives everything curriculum and instruction, what all students are getting. And we often call that tier 1 or core instruction. Also tutoring, intervention, and other targeted supports that are happening for some of our students, as well as additional intense programming and intervention that is happening for a very few subset of students and is more individualized. The data from our universal assessments and our testing, such as iReady and DIBELS, lead us to identifying the students that need more support and what they might need in terms of the supports that they get. We often in MTSS language visualize this through a triangle. So we have students, all of our students are getting everything in core instruction, and some of them are getting more, as you can see in the yellow part of the triangle, with a few getting very customized or more intensified intervention. The resources also match, whether they're in a primary care setting, an emergency setting, or if they're in like intensive care in terms of their academic supports. And so we have teachers that are the main resource for our core instruction, with a lot of other resources that support that, be it paraprofessionals, instructional aides, etc. We have in tier 2, both teachers that are supporting tier 2 efforts, for some of the students, giving them differentiated instruction that's targeted and more focused on particular skills. And then we have intervention teachers, as well as teachers, but intervention teachers in tier 2 and intervention teachers in tier 3. Looking at the triangle again, that intensity of support increases based on the data, and that's often going to be used, the benchmark data is going to be used for that, be it beginning of year, mid-year, end of year, but BOY and MOY are very much a part of that sorting, let's say, of identifying who needs more intense support and what they need. And then there's ongoing progress monitoring that's letting us know how are the students doing. Although maybe not captured perfectly here, the students can move down from tier to tier so that the data is letting us know they no longer need that intense support. We've closed that gap. They can be in tier 2, receiving tier 2 supports plus core, no longer getting that intense, more individualized support. So the data is feeding also a sustainable resource loop. What do we do in those tiers is part of the framework, right? So we want to make sure that we are aligning what we're doing in core instruction, and we're having great conversations, schools are having great conversations as they're building this out and implementing this on the ground. What are the universal core elements, the standards, grade level standards, the curriculum that we use to teach those standards or as a vehicle to teach the standards. We also have learning environments that are key to what every student gets, the classroom learning environment, and the instructional practices that are used in the classrooms. And so those are areas of focus that really support all students. When we look at the students that are identified for more, based on what that more is and what the data says, they'll be getting targeted intervention. The schools, and we'll look at this in a moment, but the schools have actually built out or baked in scheduled blocks for intervention to happen. And then we also have tutoring. We have tutoring for math and for ELA, where students that are identified to have those needs in really accelerating their learning, not taking away from grade level learning, but also providing them with the closing of gaps along the way. We have tutoring supports. And tier 3, one example is promotion in doubt. Tier 3 is really about the intensity of supports and a very narrow focus to really hone in on skills that very few students might need, but they need it to significantly increase the rate that they're learning. In the next slide, we can take a look at that along a continuum. Targeted intervention, like I mentioned, is happening in our schools in a scheduled block. Some of the schools call it WIN, What I Need block, and others have an intervention block, but it allows for differentiating and just really making sure that the instruction that's happening, called intervention, is happening based on what the students are needing, and that those needs might be different, often done in small groups, and teachers are engaging in leading some of that intervention, as are different resources in the building, including intervention teachers. Tutoring is happening often during these same blocks and is scheduled for some of the students. So schools were able to look at their data and determine a group of students that are in need of additional supports, opportunities to practice, opportunities to respond, opportunities to get feedback, in addition to what they're getting in core instruction, to really help them consolidate the learning. And that's happening both for math with FEV tutors, as well as for ELA and all literacy standards with our tutored by teachers group. So some are small group, some are individual, and they are virtual tutoring supports that happen as part of a tier 2 intervention. Promotion in doubt is not new. If you recall, we engaged in and rolled out promotion in doubt last winter, spring. We have done so earlier so that we have given a chance for students, for teachers, and for the data to really see which students have the most need, where we want to partner or need to partner with the parents in co-designing an action plan to support them. Be it with attendance or behavior, in this case, a little bit more focused on the academic piece. What are their academic needs? What can parents do at home? Why do we think this is happening? And really partnering to design a specific plan. That level of intensity is for a few students, and it happens at the school level as a partnership with the teacher. And action steps that are taken by both school as well as parents. In summary, the idea is that whether it's looking at the triangle, looking at the resources, or looking at the supports and what we provide students, we want to make sure that we are connecting the strategies we use, aligning it from the indicators we want to achieve to the zone's plan for support of schools, to the school plan, to what's happening in the classroom. And we're using data, whether we're looking at the individual students or we're looking at the strategies that we're using, to ensure that we're on the right track, focusing on the right things, and making changes when that's not the case. That coherence and system of continuous improvement, we're excited to say, is our focus for this year with our academic alignment. Are there any questions?
This was good and thorough. One of the things I always like to just kind of get my head around is the logistics of how things work, right? So like I understand the theory. So thinking about specifically around targeted intervention. So when we toured Harrison recently, right, you could see in a classroom where there would be a couple students reading independently and maybe some reading in a group and then some working with a teacher, right? So that means, right, you've got different groups of students doing different activities, right, in the same space, which is different than what an old guy like me thinks of a classroom of like 30 kids lined up in rows of seats and one person lecturing, right? So I see that. How does that work across different schools, or right? So how do we do that with either math in a middle school? Like, how does that function in different spaces, that differentiated instruction?
That's a great question. The differentiation of what different students are getting, and the example of small group that you mentioned, could happen in tier one. All students receiving whole group instruction isn't the only model for learning, and actually being able to differentiate and engage a teacher with a small group of students can be helpful, even if it's part of what's core instruction. So building it into the block is really, I think, an important step. And then also the professional learning and the supports that are being done at the school level to be able to ensure that that's happening. In different schools, we have, I think, different levels of implementation, but the same idea where you would see small groups happening. What you might see in some schools, and we actually just launched today with our school leaders, school instructional leaders, we had a community of practice, our first community of practice around MTSS, to be able to talk about MTSS academics, to be able to talk about what's working, what were some barriers, what were the lessons learned, how we resolved that. And it was great to hear schools. I mean, there were folks popping Google Drive folders in the chat and sharing with each other some of the things that have really worked. So each school has a little, they're in a different place in terms of implementation. I will say that there are some schools that push in resources during that time. So for example, there might be 3 small groups happening. One of them is led by the teacher, like the example you mentioned, but there might be an intervention teacher that's pushing in during that time and is with another group. And there might be an aide with another group, a third group, or a special education paraprofessional in the third group, or it might be an independent group, right? And ensuring that those stations are intentionally set up for the students what they need, anticipating that some of them might need more supports than an independent group, or what structures would be put into place to help certain students. So I think the variance is, are there resources coming in to also be part of that grouping or not? But the small group and the differentiation, and that it's based on information that they're getting in the data, is, I think, really key and probably most universal.
Yeah, great question in terms of like logistics. As Ms. Zapata mentioned, you might see examples of external supports pushing in. You might also see pullouts. So during the class period, an aide an instructional power might come and pull 3 students and take them somewhere separate. You might be walking around the building and see a few students with an adult in the hallway working. That's a pull out. You might also see, in particular at the middle school level, where scheduling is often a little bit easier, students might have 2 blocks of the same content area. So I take 2 different math classes. I take one math class that is on grade level, so if I'm in the 7th grade, I'm taking my 7th grade math. But then I might have a remedial math block where I'm taking another math class to fill in gaps. So I'm getting both on grade level instruction, but also getting remedial instruction. That's a form of intervention as well. And you might see the same thing in ELA. So there are many ways to do it, and each of our buildings are looking at it differently based on space. If we don't have a lot of space, it's hard to pull kids out and put them in a different room based on staff. Elementary scheduling is always more challenging when you're trying to do things like having differentiated, to have kids have 2 math blocks or 2 ELA blocks is often harder in elementary school than middle or high school. So logistically, there are lots of different ways. You might find that there is a intervention block built in at the end of the day. So students who might not need intervention, they might go to specials, right? So they might have a second art or second PE versus students who need remediation. They might just get specials once a week as opposed to twice a week because their second specials block would be an intervention block. So there's just different ways to does that answer your question?
No, it doesn't. I think in general, one, helping me understand it, but I think when we have conversations and do advocacy around how complicated education is, it isn't like it used to be, right? And so that there's a lot of tech and a lot of focus and a lot of extreme skill being used and how we differentiate and how we set up. So when I think blocks, I just think we're gonna grab a group of kids and have them sit in there and do this, right? But they're sometimes often in the same room doing those activities. So I wanted to make sure that I understood that well from what I've seen in spaces. And then as a parent of school-age children, I hear what they tell me they do at school, and I'm like, I think I understand what that means. I think helping that, connect all those dots. So thank you.
I'm glad that you did see differentiation when you were in house.
Yes. And for example, again, not every school, but when schools call it a what I need block, a win block, it literally is that. So the data is speaking to, are we really focusing with our English language learners on building that, speaking and listening skill? They might be pulled by an intervention teacher specifically working with English language learning, right? Or it might be a virtual tutoring one-on-one for math because literacy is where it needs to be for this particular student, or examples like Dr. Lewis mentioned. So the data speaking and then the logistics of making sure those resources align in an elementary schedule.
Those are great, thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a question specifically around promotion and doubt. I know it was initiated at the end of last year. A 3-part question. 1, did it accomplish what you wanted it to accomplish? 2, how did parents respond through the process or at the end? And then what were your key lessons learned that led to changes?
That's a great 3-part question. In terms of parent feedback, I wish I could say we had like a survey of that. So that really makes me think we need to have like systematic data coming out of it from the parents. I think for the anecdotal information received from teachers or leaders, primarily leaders, there were partnerships that really created, strong plans. In some cases, the effectiveness, if we look at it from being promotion and doubt as an intervention, and then not necessarily having that promotion and doubt by the end of the year, I think there were some successes. At Navarre, we saw almost 100%, if not 100% of the students that were focused on in promotion and doubt not necessarily move into a retention situation. As our first year, I think in terms of lessons learned, the summer school process and ensuring that we have a seamless promotion and doubt to summer school plan for the students, knowing what we know for a longer period of time, especially this year, is going to be important so that we're going into summer school with those specific needs for the students, and ensuring students attending summer school so that we can really take that final intervention and say it was effective or not for decision making, and that requires really consistent attendance in summer school. So some things to work on there. Did I miss one of the questions? Dr. Lewis, is there anything you want to say?
Obviously, we're starting a lot earlier this year. So I introduced promotion in doubt as an idea in December. We started in January, and everybody's like, what is he talking about? What does this look like? So I had to get everybody on board, and then there was mass hysteria. He's doing something new again. And we got some results. At Navarre, all but 2 students were required to go to summer school. And again, we looked at promotion in doubt academically, behaviorally, and attendance. We know for Navarre as an example, just because it's top of mind, not picking on Navarre, but we saw the students that were promotion in doubt, we saw their attendance increase and behavior decrease. So it had that desired effect. I would say anecdotally as well, students are a lot more aware. And so even when you walk in buildings now, in particular at Navarre, there's like, oh, am I going to be on the retention list? And like, what do I need to do to not get on that retention list? Parents, some parents took it very seriously. Some parents took it so seriously that they withdrew their kids and said, well, I don't want my child to be retained, so I'm going to withdraw them and take them somewhere else where this isn't a policy. You know, unfortunate to lose an enrollment that way, but you know, that's a parent, right? You know, we think we're doing what's best to make sure that a child is prepared to move to the next grade. Again, it's a new concept where we've just been in a system of we just keep pushing kids along, and so then you have 8th graders who are reading at a 3rd grade level, right? So that was a big lesson in terms of starting it early this year. So we looked at BOI data, and we started talking about this in Q2. So that was certainly a lesson. And then we're also rethinking what does the summer look like, in particular for rising 6th graders. So we are currently looking at doing a summer bridge program, bringing all 5th grade students together who will be going to 6th grade and taking them off-site for a week or 2 at 5-Star Life to do academic and, because moving from middle school, from elementary to middle school is an adjustment. Behaviorally, socially, you're transitioning on your own, you don't line up to go to the bathroom anymore, you have more independence, all of that. So that's something that we're looking at. So both timing and our approach to summer were lessons learned from last year.
Other questions, comments?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, this again goes along with the promotion and doubt and retention of students. I wanted to know so we know that academics are affected by attendance and behavior. Did we have any students who were retained due to attendance and behavior, but their academics were fine?
I don't know off the top of my head. Factually, we can look that up. I will say we did have students that were retained, and parents either withdrew or they filed an appeal, and students were then placed with an academic plan. I would also say why I think it's probably, the answer to your question is probably yes, because I can think of students, again, at Navarre who academically met the requirements to graduate from 8th grade, but because of attendance or behavior, Mr. Harris barred them from attending the graduation ceremony. And then parents reaching out and saying, hey, but my child is doing this academically, they've earned the right to graduation, and he said, no, not based on their behavior or attendance. And some of them kind of dealt with it, some of them appealed it to me, and we said, if your child does a community service project that was documented, we would allow them to go. So using that as an example, I feel pretty confident that the answer to your question is yes, because if he was banning kids from graduation, even though they earned it academically, I think it's within reason that he also retained kids for behavior or attendance. But we can look into that specifically.
Okay, I would like more information on that.
Sure.
The percentage of overlap was definitely just in the PID, even aside from retention, was definitely there, where a large percentage of students with an attendance or behavior issue had an academic issue as well. We have that information.
Seeing no other questions, that closes that portion of the report, correct? And I think that closes off our focus reports for the evening. I don't know if you had any additional. And so at that, as we near the conclusion of our meeting, we will have our general open public comment portion. I once again will not read our public comment statement again, but will open up the floor for public statements on items that were not on the agenda this evening, if anybody would like to make a comment to the board. Seeing none, we will move to our last part of the agenda, which is general board communication. So our next scheduled board meeting, I know it is a holiday week, but is at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, December 19th. I think we're planning to be at one of our schools, hopefully at Coquillard, and for our next board meeting. And with that, we will adjourn we're at about 7:42 p.m. Or yeah, 7:37 p.m. I need the Harrison kids to help me with the math on the fractions on my clock. Maybe I also can't see. So yeah, thank you everybody for being here.